How does the number one beer in America lose $27 billion in a matter of weeks? This isn't just a story about a marketing mistake. It's a story about a brand that forgot who it was. For decades, Bud Light wasn't just a beer. It was an American institution. It was the soundtrack to your weekend, the staple of every tailgate, every backyard barbecue, every baseball game. Owned by the global giant Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light was the undisputed king, ruling the American beer market from coast to coast for over 20 years. Think about it. For 2 decades straight, it held on to the top spot, capturing more than a third of the entire market. How did they do it? The magic was in its simplicity. The message was clear. Be light, be fun, be everywhere. Bud Light mastered the art of emotional marketing long before viral videos were even a thing. Remember those Real Men of Genius ads? Or the Dilly Dilly campaign? They were more than just commercials. They were cultural moments, becoming memes before we even called them memes. People quoted them, they laughed at them, and most importantly, they bought the beer associated with them. This brilliant advertising, combined with the immense distribution power of its parent company, AB InBev, built an empire. By 2022, Bud Light was a financial juggernaut, pulling in over $11 billion in revenue every single year. It was the cornerstone of one of the most powerful beverage portfolios on the entire planet. It seemed untouchable. But in April 2023, that untouchable fortress started to crumble. It all began with what seemed like a small, modern marketing move. Bud Light partnered with a popular social media influencer, Dylan Mulvaney, for a promotion featuring a limited edition can to celebrate Pride. On the surface, it was a standard influencer collaboration, something brands do every single day. But this one post lit a political firestorm. Conservative voices immediately called for a boycott. Viewing the partnership as a step too far into a culture war they didn't want their beer involved in. The backlash was swift and fierce. Videos of people destroying cans of Bud Light flooded the internet. What the executives at Bud Light completely underestimated was the new landscape of identity politics. They failed to realize that for many of their loyal customers, Bud Light wasn't just a beverage. It was part of their identity, deeply tied to tradition and a certain idea of American life. This one Instagram post became a proxy battle in the nation's broader culture war. And as the controversy exploded, Bud Light's leadership seemed paralyzed. They hesitated to fully stand by their partnership, which in turn angered progressive consumers who accused the company of abandoning its values and caving to pressure. By trying to please everyone, they ended up pleasing no one. The fallout was catastrophic and immediate. Within weeks, store shelves that were once packed with cases of Bud Light started to look empty, not because of high demand, but because of a silent, powerful protest. People simply stopped buying it. By the middle of 2023, the numbers were staggering. Sales had plummeted by more than 25%. The stock market reacted just as brutally, wiping out nearly $27 billion from AB InBev's market value. The brand that had spent decades building an image of belonging and togetherness suddenly became a symbol of division. Former insiders later admitted that the leadership was frozen, caught between issuing an apology and doubling down on their stance. This indecision proved fatal. It alienated both sides of the political spectrum and eroded the most valuable asset any brand has: trust. Competitors were quick to capitalize on the chaos. Brands like Coors Light and Modelo saw a massive influx of new customers, scooping up the drinkers who had abandoned Bud Light. The damage wasn't just at the corporate level. It hit the ground hard. U.S. distributors, many of them family-owned businesses, were left with warehouses full of expired beer they couldn't sell. Some were even forced to lay off employees. Marketing experts and researchers analyzed the disaster, calling it a classic crisis of message coherence. For years, Bud Light had thrived by being a mass-market brand for everyone. But in today's world, where consumers increasingly expect brands to have a purpose and stand for something. Bud Light found itself without a clear identity. What did it actually stand for? The company seemed unsure. In the aftermath, they tried to win back their old customers. They launched new campaigns heavy on patriotic themes, featuring the iconic Clydesdale horses and baseball tie-ins. But these efforts felt reactive, and for many, only served as a reminder of the initial stumble. The road to recovery has been long and difficult. Even into 2025, sales struggled to bounce back to their former glory. The controversy also accelerated a trend that was already underway. Younger drinkers were increasingly moving away from traditional light beers, opting instead for seltzers, craft beers, and other alternatives. The Bud Light fiasco became a case study for business schools and marketing classes around the world, offering some hard-learned lessons. The first lesson is crucial. Know your audience before you try to change your message. Bud Light attempted to modernize its image without fully understanding how deeply its core customer base identified with the brand's traditional values. They mistook brand loyalty for a willingness to follow them anywhere. The second lesson is that in a crisis, silence can be far more costly than taking a clear stance. By trying to walk a tightrope and avoid offending anyone, the company's hesitation created a vacuum of leadership that only deepened the sense of distrust on all sides. And finally, the most important lesson of all, relevance has to be authentic. True brand strength isn't built on catchy slogans or expensive commercials. It's built on a foundation of consistent values that people can believe in. When a brand's actions don't align with its perceived identity, consumers see right through it. The story of Bud Light is so much more than just a boycott over a beer can.